Welcome to the everyday adventures of the Wheelie Hogs. Join little Wee and his family, especially Nana, as they live their lives alongside friends and neighbours in Hoglington. Herding ducks. Little Wheelie was awake quite early one morning. He tried to go back to sleep, but he could see the light of the early morning sun shining through his window and wanted to be outside. He could hear Nana rattling around in the kitchen. He knew it was her because she was always up first. Little Wee joined Nana in the kitchen. "Morning, Nana. Did you have a good night's sleep?" "Good morning, little Wee. In fact, I did have a very good night's sleep, thank you. I had a dream that I was herding ducks. Very strange, but good fun," Nana chuckled. Little Wheelie laughed. "Herding ducks? That's funny, Nana. What a funny dream." It was a little too early for breakfast, so Nana and little Wheelie decided to go for a quick wheel at the local park before coming back for breakfast with the family. Nana left a note for Mama and Papa to let them know where they had gone, and they set off. Perhaps they would be lucky and see some early morning wildlife. As they approached the park, they could hear very loud quacking coming from what sounded like lots and lots of ducks. "I wonder what's upsetting the park ducks today," says Nana. "I don't know, Nana. I'm going to wheel on ahead and see," replied little Wee with some urgency. As little Wee reached the brow of the hill and looked over towards the lake, there were so many ducks and they all seemed to be in a bit of a tizzy over something. They were waddling here and waddling there and back and forth and back, and not one of them seemed to know what they were doing, and they were all quacking at once. Nobody was listening to each other. It sounded like ducky, quacky chaos. When Nana caught up with little Wee, she looked at all the ducks and exclaimed, "Oh dear, it looks to me as though they need some help, little Wee. I don't know what with, but let's go and see if we can be of any help to them." "Good idea, Nana," said little Wee, and they slowly and gently wheeled down the hill towards the very noisy group of ducks. "Oh, I can't hear myself think," exclaimed Nana. But little Wee couldn't hear above the noise. Nana could see that little Wee was trying to say something to the ducks, but they weren't listening, and little Wee couldn't speak any louder. All of a sudden, there was the loudest whistle little Wee had ever heard. It was so loud that all the ducks immediately stopped quacking and flapping around and looked towards Nana. Little Wee couldn't believe his ears. He had no idea that Nana could whistle so loud. "Nana, was that really you? That was the loudest whistle I've ever heard." "Yes, that was me," Nana replied calmly, as she wheeled herself into a position where all the ducks could see her. Nana then proceeded to clear her throat and address all the ducks who were still looking at her in stunned silence. "Good morning, ducks," she said. "It seems clear to me that something is causing you all some distress. Is there anything that I or my grand hog, little Wee, or both of us can do to help?" The ducks were still looking at Nana in shock from her very loud whistle when the waddling of ducks began to separate as a rather large mallard made his way towards Nana and little Wee from the centre of the group. The large duck waddled forward. "Good morning," he said. "My name is Bill. I am from Farmer Gus's farm. I came here very early this morning as some members of our pond have gone missing. 4 white ducks. I think they came to the park, but in all the fuss and noise the park ducks are making, I can't find them." Nana wheeled forward. "I have an idea," she said, and promptly began explaining her plan to Bill and little Wee as the sound of quacking and flapping began to start up again from the other ducks. Once more, Nana did the loudest whistle that she could muster, which immediately got the attention of all the ducks, and she spoke to them again. "Please let me help you," said Nana. "Could all the lake ducks only, follow me? All lake ducks only, follow me," she repeated. And Nana headed off towards a small clump of trees by the water's edge. Amazingly, the ducks began to follow her, waddling in a very orderly way with very little fuss and only gentle, curious quacks. "It seems that they are happy that somebody has taken charge of the situation," thought Nana. While Nana was leading the lake ducks away, Bill and little Wee made their way towards a smaller group of ducks that were left. Suddenly, Bill started to speed up, and he waddled, taking great strides towards the other group of the 4 ducks that were left. "There you are," he said to the 4 much younger ducks, who were looking rather worried, because they knew they had caused some concern to Bill and his wife Ida, not to mention the rest of the pond dwellers at Farmer Gus's farm. "Please don't be cross with us, Bill. We hadn't intended to be gone for so long. We knew there were other ducks in the park, and we were curious and wanted to come and meet them to see if they were just plain white like us. But when we got here, the park ducks were so friendly. They gathered around us, asking questions, and before we know it, we were separated from each other and the crowd. We all decided to stay where we were, hoping that you would come and find us, and you did." "Well, as long as you are safe," replied Bill. "You did the right thing by staying put, but what do you mean by referring to yourselves as just plain white, young ducks?" asked Bill. "Well, you and Mrs. Ida are so lovely and colourful, with all your colours catching the sun, and so are the other park ducks. We are so plain with our white feathers that we wanted to see what the other ducks look like." "Again, I'm very pleased that you are safe," said Bill, "but I hope you have learned to always tell me or someone else on the farm if you are visiting the park, or going anywhere else for that matter." "We will, Bill. Sorry for worrying you," replied the ducks. Bill said, "I think you need to apologize to Mrs. Ida when you get back too, don't you?" The young ducks agreed, and they promised that they would. At that moment, Farmer Gus came rolling down the hill towards Bill, little Wee and the others. He was looking rather flustered and concerned as he puffed and blew as he hurried towards them. Oh, blimey, ducks! I was worried about you, and when Bill didn't come back either, I wanted to come and find you myself, and here you all are, safely in the hands of Bill and little Wee. Well, I'd like to take this moment to introduce you to our new, young call ducks, Ozzy, Lizzie, Mizzy and Kizzy. They only moved onto the farm a couple of weeks ago," explained Farmer Gus. "I would rather have introduced you to them on the farm, but never mind. Now is as good a time as any, and no harm done." "Nice to meet you all," said little Wee. Little Wee, Bill, Farmer Gus and the 4 young ducks made their way closer to Nana and the park ducks. Nana was still with them, telling them all a story about 4 little white ducks that set out early one morning to visit their duck neighbours in the park, because they had only ever known 2 other kindly older ducks at the farm called Bill and Mrs. Ida, who looked after them. When the 4 white ducks met all the other ducks in the park, they realized how wonderful it was that there are so many different types of ducks of different colors, sizes, and some with different feathers, and they went back to their home in the farm feeling good about how great and interesting differences are. Bill, Farmer Gus, little Wee, who was now very hungry and ready for breakfast, and the young ducks went back to their homes, but Nana stayed in the park for a bit longer, telling more tales and stories to her quacky, captive audience. Hey, Wheelie Hog friends! When did you last visit some ducks? Perhaps there's a park near you where you can go and visit some and see how many different colours and breeds there are. You may even be able to feed them and see how loudly they quack. Don't forget though, make sure you have an adult with you. Also, do you know what a group of ducks is called? See if you can find out. Until next time, roll with the Wheelie Hogs.